All right. So today let's look at the four sections of the listening test. Yesterday we were able to treat the three T's. Can you remember? We talked about the trick, the tips, and the techniques. On the trick, you learned how to apply brackets around answers that you are not so sure if they are supposed to be there, right? And we also learned that in the application of brackets around answers, you must adhere strictly to what? Instruction. You must adhere strictly to instruction. So if the instruction says no more than one word, you must not write more than one word. Don't say you want to write two words and put one in bracket. It will not work. Right? So you must adhere strictly to instruction. So if instruction says no more than one word and a number, the bracket trick under no more than one word is considering what? Whether your answer should be in singular or plural. Is that correct? So that's where it goes to secure the S or the TH or the ST, RD, all those expressions, right? Then it also looks at whether you need AM or PM. It still considers whether you need the dollar symbol, right? The pounds or euro, whichever currency that is being used in the particular test you're taking, right? Now, if we go further and meet a section with the instructions stating that your answer should be no more than two words and a number, to apply the bracket trick, you need to consider which is the primary answer, right? And which is the supporting answer to the primary. So if you find the primary answer, what do? You place bracket around the what? The supporting answer. So it says no more than two words. And that means your answer can be one word or two words maximum. So it doesn't compel you to write two words all through. No. Some answers can require just a word, and that's perfect. Some may not even require a word, but a number. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All through. Maybe. So it doesn't still stop you from applying your bracket trick. So if the answers are three words all through, what you need to do is find out of the three words, which is the primary answer. Leave it open. Then the supporting words, the article, the adjective, the quantifier, leave them in bracket, individual bracket. Do not put two in one bracket. Please, each word has to be in its own bracket, and that makes it valid. So if the examiner that's marking your script needs your answer to carry the three words, because they are in individual brackets, everything is perfect. If they want just two words, and they will ignore the one that is not required because it is in bracket. Do you understand? All right. We now went further to the tips where you advised that if you really do not have good understanding of punctuation, you should write all your answers in capital letters, in block letters. Because some persons don't know what proper nouns are. So if your answer happens to be a proper noun and you begin to write that proper noun with small letter, of course, you will definitely stand a chance of having a wrong answer. If your answer is the first word that begins a sentence and you write it with small letter, that's incorrect. Because every sentence must begin with the first letter being in capital letter. Do you understand this? So one of the tips states clearly that if you don't have good and in-depth understanding of punctuations, it is safer for you to write all your answers in block letters. Before you begin this is exam, not only IELTS. So read instruction so you would know what you are expected to do. But in IELTS, the instruction helps you to know if your answer should come in one word or two words or three words. if your answer should come in alphabets, right? A, B, C, or D. If you are to choose any 3 letters from the list of options lettered A, B, C, A to D, or whatever it is, right? So you need to read instructions to understand that. And another tip also says yesterday that you should read your questions before the audio begins to play. Because this is one major reason a lot of tests expect audio to read the question exactly the way they appear on the question paper. It will never happen. The audio will never read the question exactly the way they are written. Audio will use synonyms, other words, to read questions. As in other words here means using the synonym of those written on the question paper. So the synonym will find a way to paraphrase or rephrase that question. So if you are not conscious of that, what will happen? You'll be busy waiting to hear words. The audio has treated that question and given the answer. You are still waiting. Transfer your answer. That's the problem. Just this devastating information gets to you. The audio begins to play, helps you to get prepared for the possible paraphrases the audio may throw at you. Then you are also encouraged very strongly by one of the tips to write your answers while the audio is playing. Some persons have made a mistake of waiting as the audio is ending, so with the also disappear to figures. Do you understand? So audio would always paraphrase words to figures, or figures to words, or figures to fractions and percentages, or figures to general terminologies. Please, do you understand this? So you need to be conscious and alert. Give IELTS listening test 101% concentration for that 35 or 40 minutes period. Remember, when you go for your test, everyone in the test room is so head-bent on concentrating to hear what the audio says. So if you choose to distract yourself by yourself, then that's you. Right? So you have to give it the maximum attention and concentration so you do well. So today, let's look at the sections of the listening test. Of course, the listening test lasts for 40 minutes, where you get to answer 40 questions, covering 4 different sections. Remember that each question carries 1 mark, right? So the first section of the listening test that you would face is usually a dialogue. You know what a dialogue is? What is a dialogue? A conversation between. Aha, that's correct. So a dialogue is a conversation between 2 persons or 2 parties. Some dictionaries will say conversation, dialogue is a conversation between 2 or more people. So 2 or more here means it could be 2 individuals or 2 different parties comprising more. Do you understand? So in the listening test, your section 1, 85% of it that comes as dialogue often come in form of telephone call. So someone would phone in to lodge a complaint or make an inquiry or report a situation, right? So during the dialogue, these are possible answers. These are potential answers you should look out for. The first is the name. So on the question paper, if you find name and dash beside a name, definitely you'll be required to write a name. So the person, the caller would give his or her full name, beginning with the one that's written on your question paper. So when the person says the one written on the question paper and the one that is not there, you are meant to write the one that's not there. Do not write the name that's already written on the question paper as part of your answer to make your answer incorrect. Do you understand? And in most cases, 99% of section 1 usually require 1-word answer. 99% of section 1 of your listening test usually requires your answer to come as 1 word. So if name is required, if you write the name that's on the question paper and the one that the person will give, you are constituting two words, so automatically it's going to be incorrect. Now, when the name is given, most times, if the name is an English name, it's never spelled. It won't be spelled. If it's a popular English name, they expect you to know the name and the spelling. But if the name is an unpopular English name, it's going to be spelled. So when it is being spelled, you are expected to write. Don't wait for the spelling to end before you write. Write as the spelling is going on. So once the spelling is completed, the receiver of the call would emphasize or call that name like twice or thrice. The reason for that is for you to look at what you spelled and know if it tallies what is being pronounced. Right? Then, telephone. If the telephone is required to be a part of your answer, you would notice that on the question paper there might be first 3 or first 4 digits of the telephone number. Right? Now, when the person is required to give his or her phone number, the person will still begin from those ones on that question paper. So do not, due to exam tension or condition, do not start writing even the one that the person is calling, which is there already. Don't write those ones. If you write them, they would make your answer incorrect. So you are expected to write the information that cannot be found there. So you need to focus to find out if the first 4 digits that the person is calling is the one written. If it is, wait until after that 4th digit. Then as person proceeds, you start writing. Do you understand this? Then DOB, that means date of birth. For date of birth, we learned that yesterday, that when the month begins, the date, you don't need to put the superscript. Is that correct? When the month starts first, you don't need to put superscript to the day. So something like October 1, not October 1st. Right? But I also said in IELTS, you cannot be 101% sure. So what do? Apply the bracket trick. So when you write October 1, then ST in bracket. Do you understand? Then if the day comes before the month, what you do is, if you write the day, put your superscript in bracket, then you write the month. Never make the mistake of writing OCT. OCT represents what? October. So write your October as October. OCTOBER. Then address. If address is supposed to be a part of your answers, what you do is look carefully on the question paper. Find out if the address is already on the question paper, and perhaps there may be some omitted or an omitted part of the address. It may be the street name or the street number or the postal code or postcode. So the person would give out that information when giving the address. So you're meant to listen attentively and write. Nationality. I believe you know about nationalities, right? Person from Nigeria, Nigerian, the person from Cameroon, the person from Guinea, a person from Ghana, Liberia, Libya, India, Morocco, Mexico, Jericho, Okay, Jericho is not a country. It's not a country, okay? So I was thinking you say Jerican. Okay, so you need to know these different countries and how their nationalities are spelled. Because in listening test, when the nationality is given or said, it's not usually spelled. You will spell the nationality yourself, right? Then for email, if email is required to be a part of your answers, of course, it would be called out, just the way telephone numbers are called out. So the makeup of the email address will be called out. Do you understand? So you're meant to write when a person is giving out the constituents or makeup of the email address, okay? Then interest. What is the person interested in? Perhaps the person might want to find out a couple of information about securing an accommodation. Maybe that's an accommodation agency. So they want to find out, or the caller wants to find out for reservation, right? It might also be flight ticketing, right? It might as well be admission into an institution. It might be for job, right? It might be to take part in a tour that has been organized. Maybe the person wants to be one of the tour guides, someone that will lead the people around, right? So the person would call and indicate his or interest. It might be a voluntary job, a part-time job. So the person wants to find out how to go about the process. Then duration. How long is it supposed to last? They will talk about it. When it has to do with duration, you need to be careful because sometimes paraphrasing will play out. So if the person wants to take up a temporary job for about a month, you might hear something has to do with 4 weeks. 4 weeks is equivalent to a month, right? So you need to be sure about how your answer should appear. If your answer is meant to come in month, then you're writing a month or 1 month, right? If your answer is supposed to be in weeks, you're writing how many weeks? 4 weeks, right? Then costs or financial implication, right? The cost might be stipend, it might be transport fare, it might be anything, salary or whatever it is, or cost of accommodation or cost of ticketing. So you need to find out. Remember yesterday I taught you that when it's about money, if the currency symbol is on your question paper, you don't need to do what? You don't need to currency symbol on your answer paper. You only write the amount, right? So you need to be careful. Then previous portfolio. If the person, for instance, is interested in being a tour guide, they might want to know if the person has taken up such roles before. They might want to know what the person's previous positions are, right? So that would determine or help them to consider whether the person is fit or qualified for it or not. Do you have any question on section 1? All right, let's go to section 2. Section 2. How do you tackle your section 2? Now, section 2, in most cases, is usually a monologue. I know what monologue is. When one person is giving a talk, when one person is delivering a speech, but there must be an audience. You must have people listening to whatever delivery or information you're passing across. So that's monologue, right? You need to understand that monologues are usually faster than dialogues. In dialogues, when candidate A is talking, the second person waits to listen. When the candidate A is done talking, the candidate A will wait for candidate B to now respond, right? So everyone gets to talk at his or her own pace. But if it's monologue, the person does not ever wait for you to process what has been said or what is being said. So the person just keeps talking at his or her own pace. So you need to be up and ready for it. So as the person begins, all right, my name is Professor Jarul. Today I'll be giving you a talk on the scientific report gotten from the Mediterranean Sea. Over time, a lot of persons don't understand about the blah, blah, blah. So the person keeps talking. And as the person is talking, answers are going. So you need to also be at the same pace with the person that's monologuing. So let's look at some of the possible or potential answers. Noun. Noun here has to do with name of a place, animal, a person or thing, right? So whatever it is that the person giving the talk is introducing, then of course you get to know the name of that particular thing. If it's about a particular inventor or researcher or scientist or innovator, whoever it is, or virus or activity, whatever it is. So the person will introduce that. Then where was that founded? Or where will the event take place? Or where are the people coming from? Or where will the people go to? Location will be talked about. So you need to pay attention if it is supposed to be part of your answer. Then, what is it about that particular thing? The issue. What are some of the things about what the person introduces? Do you understand me? Right? So it has to be given. Then, what is the weight, the quality of that thing? Is it dangerous? Is it terminal? Is it hospitable? Is it something you want to keep? Is it something that, whatever it is, you need to listen and get that as well. Then, time. How long has it lasted? Or how long will it last? Or when was it produced? When was it first founded? When was it first recorded? All of those information, you have to listen. It might also be about um, transport schedule. So, what time is the first train leaving, departing? What time is the next train arriving? And all that. How many different schedules do we have? Do we have the early morning first train? Do we have the noon train? Do we have the evening or late night? So all of that will be factored in. You have to read what you have and also pay attention to the audio, right? Then cost. How much is involved? Cost. If it's a trip, if it's an excursion, if it's an invention, if it's a souvenir or a survey, if it's a questionnaire, whatever it is, how much will the process cost or require? So you need to pay attention to get all of that. Now, how many people will benefit from it? Or how many people will be interviewed? Or how many people will be affected? So you want to also look out for such information if it's supposed to be part of your answers. Now, the big one, map. Map. You had that experience yesterday? You were lost? Yeah. Map reading is something you can't always run away from. They do come, right? So how do you manage map reading? Of course, there is something called this. What do you call that? Compass. Some people call it compass. Some call it navigator. Some call it the cardinal points, right? So we have the north, south, east, and west. So during your listening test, if map comes out, you need to always give these locations on the map by yourself. Hmm? Mm-mm. It's not always indicated. So if it's not there, you would give these locations. You know that on the map, the top part of the map is the north. The bottom part, the right hand part, east, and the left hand side is the west. Give it, label this part yourself. Then audio will always tell you the starting point at each time. That is, for you to locate a particular place, audio will tell you where to come in from or where to pick up from. So if it says from the main entrance on the north, that means you should understand that your entrance is from this top coming in. So if your entrance is from the north coming in, that means your position, your right to become what? When you're coming from the north. Uh-huh. Do you understand? Don't get carried away. You must always be flexible. If you're coming in from the north, that means the way you are seated is not how you're coming. You imagine that you have now turned. Do you understand this? So that's the north. So you're coming in this way, you're now facing this other way. That means your right would change. So your right will now take you towards the west, while your left take you towards the east, as against the position where you were seated. You need to understand this, else you'll be taking the wrong directions. So whenever the audio tells you where to go in from, that's how you get to know where your right and left would be. Don't always be static. Don't station yourself at a particular point and use that same point for every location or entrance. So once the audio is giving you directives or direction on how to go in, where to start from, how to make your what turn to take, you should be as quickly as possible and follow that audio's directions. So how do you manage this? By using your finger to point, or using your pen or pencil to follow the directions of the audio. As long as you are entering from the appropriate or correct position as indicated by the audio. Please, do you understand this? Then you must be fast. How can you achieve this fast tempo or pace? By scanning through the map first before it begins. Scan through the maps and locate different places here. It will tell you, you will see different locations, whether in Roman numerals I, V, or A, B, C, D. You see them labeled, right? So you need to pay attention and be as quickly as possible. Follow the direction of the audio. Is this clear? Now let's go to MCQs. MCQs means multiple choice questions. So it is the multiple choice questions that will always require you to choose letters A, B, C, D, E. Right? A lot of people fail these multiple choice questions. And the reason people fail it is because they are always hoping that the audio will only talk about the options that are the correct answers. But audio will discuss all the options there. So for someone who is not familiar with this, once the audio begins to discuss option A, the person will clean write A. And as you're ending with that A, you are hearing option B, you clean B and you clean A and write B. As you are cleaning A to write B, option C is being discussed. So a lot of time confusion is everywhere now. I don't understand audio. Which one are you even referring to? How do you tackle MCQs? You need to read the question. The question would emphasize on maybe two things that you should, that are compulsory for a particular thing, whatever that is being discussed. If it says, what are the two major things the person should come with? Or what are the two things that this particular thing is known for? Or what are the things that the person thinks? There are several thoughts amongst the options, but there are only two major ones. Please, do you understand this? So you need to read the question and know what the question wants you to look out for and pick out from the options. Then if the instruction says choose any two letters, it means your answer must not follow the order of alphabets. For instance, B, then D. Because in the letter you have A, B before D, right? It says any. So any can come in any order. The first answer can be G, your second answer can be B. Do you understand? But if the instruction says choose two correct letters from the list of options, two correct letters from the list of options given, it means they would come in the right order because the two correct answers are there amongst the arranged letters. So pick them in their order of appearance or occurrence. Do you understand the difference? So please be careful with this guy. Now, attributes. What are the attributes or characteristics of whatever issue that is being raised or described? What is the shape? What color does it come in? What are the different sections of that particular device? How what roles do they play? You know, what are the temperature it survives in? Right? So attributes. Attributes. You want to listen to the audio attentively and as quickly as it's running to get your answers. Do you understand this? Let's go to section 3. Section 3 is called group discussion. Group discussion. Now, in group discussion, it usually involves about 3 or more students or academians talking about a particular topic. Group discussion often involve 3 or more persons talking about an issue or topic. It might be how they would organize their presentation. It might be how they would get the information they need from the general public to present their slides. It might be how they would organize an excursion. It might be anything. It might be on a particular discovery. It might be on a particular animal or species of animal or plant. Right? So whatever it is, the 3 or more persons would come together and talk about it. So once they gather, first, it's either the narrator introduces the names of those discussants. For instance, section 3, you would hear a discussion between 3 friends, Mary, Jane, and Joshua. So it has given you the names. So if the narrator does not give you the names of the discussants, it may not necessarily be an answer at that point. But in the course of listening to the session, you would use their names to detect an answer. Do you understand this? You would maybe, okay, as we proceed, I'll show you where the name might be an answer or help you to get your answer. So, but names of discussants would come in first. Then secondly, what have they assembled to talk about? Issue of discourse or discussion rather. So what do they want to talk about? You might hear, so today I think this is our last meeting to put our information together for the project presentation. What's their issue of discussion? Project presentation, right? So you need to listen. All right, so they'll also now begin to talk about who their target audience will be. It might be based on a particular line of information they need. If they need information from people who are well experienced, people who are of age, their target audience might be people within 50 to 65 years, right? They would just have an age bracket of people they would meet to get whatever information that they need for their presentation. Okay? Now, where would they go to meet those people? Maybe there are certain locations where such age bracket of citizens or individuals often go to. It might be the church, it might be the mosque, it might be the market, it might be the care home, it might be care trust, it might be hospital, anywhere. But they know that when we go to this place, we are almost very sure to meet people within this age range. Do you understand? So that's their location. They would agree on where. So you have to listen to get that information. Now, time or duration. When are they supposed to go there and meet with such persons? When are they supposed to go there and meet with such persons? And how long will they spend per person? So that they will be able to also have time for more. Right? So, how long will they spend in general at that particular location getting the information they need? That is time or duration. Then, how many people will they interview or conduct a survey or questionnaire on? Right? So, they would agree. Now, how would they put their information together? Mode of presentation. Will they make slides? Will they include photos? Will they give demographies? Do you understand? However it is, they would agree on their mode of presentation. Are they going to dramatize it? They would agree. Then unanimous view. Unanimous view. Pardon me. Individual view. Individual view here requires you to use the name of someone. So what does that person think about maybe a person they met during their questionnaire survey? So they might want to know what that particular person thinks about the person's personality or attitude towards the whole process. Unanimous view has to do with collective agreement, collective thoughts. Then, finally, we have solution. How best will this resolve their challenge and also meet with their aim or purpose or objective? It can also be a group discussion. But in most cases, it's usually a monologue where one person will give a very long talk. Section 4 is usually one of the longest sections. And it runs, in most cases, from 31 to 40. In some cases, it will be 31 to 35 first, then 36 to 40 second. Right? Whereas some tests will just take you through 31 to 40 at a go. Now, if it's to go through 31 to 40 at a go, there are two different possibilities. One, you might get to the audio might reach 31, 35 and then take a long pause or a long gist. Now, the reason for that pause or gist is for you to quickly go through the remaining parts. Please, do you understand this? That's the reason for the long pause or the reason for the long gist. Don't get carried away. A lot of test takers get carried away by that gist. A lot of test takers get carried away by the long gist during section 4. Don't. So how best to manage section 4 is once you get an answer, leave that particular spot. Write your answer and go to the next environment where you need to provide another answer. Forget about the long gist. Take cognizance or recognize the first two words before where you are providing information and the last two words after it. Read them and keep them at the fingers of it, at the tips of your fingers rather. Right? So that even if the audio paraphrases those parts, because it's usually very fast and long, lengthy. So even if the audio paraphrases it, you will still be able to catch up. Now, a lot of people also miss out answers in section 4 because they are worn out. They are exhausted. So what do? You need to reserve enough energy for section 4 because each question carries 1 mark. So if you feel bored or tired, there is high chances of missing out lots of answers from section 4. So read the question before it begins. Now, when you have to read questions before the section 4 begins, what do you read? Because you can't complete 31 to 34 before audio begins. So it is safer for you to read from 36 to 34 to 40. 36 to 40. Read that first. Right? When you read 36 to 40, you will notice that the audio now wants to begin proper from 31. Quickly go to 31 and start doing what we call scanning. Now, when you do this, it is by default, it is possible to manage the first 4-5 questions. Do you understand me? But in a situation where you read questions 31 to 35 first, without reading 36 to 40. Now, at the point of getting to the 34th or 35th question, you notice that audio wants to begin. What you do is still go back to 31. That means you have no iota of idea what be between questions 36 to 40. You don't know what's there, right? So at that point, you may not even know when the audio will jump to 36. You may not know. Do you understand? So once you have no idea, you won't even know when the answers will be given. So you might be juggling 36 to 40, 36 to 40. You miss 36. You are coming down, you miss the answer 36 because you are at 38. By the time you try to go 36, it goes to 37. By the time you get 37, so you get so confused. So please, the best approach for section 4 is read questions 36 to 40 first. As the audio is about to begin, go to 31 and begin to follow it as in very strictly, right? And feel free to also scribble your answers on the questions when you are treating 31 to 40. Scribble your answers there. It's easier for you to know when answers are given, right? So these are the 4 sections of the listening test. Please, one of the major secrets of passing your listening test is constant practice. The more you practice, the more you understand the technicalities, the fluency, the fast pace, the pronunciation, the enunciation, the accent, the more you practice. And you also begin to understand how answers are written and how answers are being hidden or how answers are being given by the audience. Constant practice. Now, what else do you need? What else do you need to do to improve your listening test performance? 1, you need to build on your listening skill. How do you build your listening skill? Listen to podcasts, English podcasts, where you have no subtitle. Listen and get used to their accent, their pace, their pronunciation, their enunciation, and all that. Do more of the CNN news. Do more of the BBC news. Do more of the foreign documentaries, English documentaries, English movies and films. Do more of English songs. So if you keep doing this over and over and over and over, you get to understand some of these listening test challenges. Those people who do a lot of Netflix, those people who do a lot of cartoons, listening tests don't give them hassle because they are already in tune with the way they pronounce words and the way they sound their letters or the way they apply the accent. right? So you need to build the habit of listening to podcasts, audios, um, films, movies, documentaries, news, and other things. Avoid subtitle movies because most times you are reading what is written just to catch up, right? So those are ways to also improve, and then practice a whole lot. When you are practicing, you may not necessarily put yourself to test. You may just listen. Put your headphones on or your earpiece on. Listen. Close your eyes and keep listening to the audio. Just listen and let their accent, pronunciation, everything pace. Let your mind begin to align with them. So once you begin to get used to it, then practice the test. As you practice right, then you'll be able to check your performance. To ascertain your level of improvement, do not practice the listening test when you are exhausted. Do not practice the listening test when you have certain thing or certain things bothering you. Do not practice the listening test when the environment is noisy. Do not practice the listening test when you are in the middle of your job. Get to practice the listening test when your psychosomatic state is intact, your mind is settled, environment is calm, you are not being distracted by anything, you have nothing bothering you. Practice the listening test. Give it like 1-2 hours of extensive or intensive practices. This will help you to know your capability and capacity, right? So thank you so much. We shall continue next time.